We're in Lebanon. For a while now, the country has witnessed unprecedented anti-government protests. They've cut through class, religion, gender, and region. Protesters say they are tired of the way their country is being run. They said it has led to corruption, lack of services, and little prospects for their futures.
كلهم من الكبير للصغير سرقونا ونهبونا.
أزمة الزبالة، النفايات، الدولارز، الأزمة الاقتصادية، البنزين، كل شيء نزلنا على الشارع.
And the protesters have already gotten results. After 2 weeks of demonstrations, the prime minister resigned and a new government was formed. But many want more. That slogan, demanding that all politicians go, has become emblematic of this movement. So what are Lebanese protesters up against when they say they want to change their country's system? It all has to do with the political rulebook written over half a century ago.
It's a rush, it's a calling. This whole revolution has been like a calling. We're all willing and leaving our houses and families and jobs to actually unite on the street towards a certain objective or a certain better Lebanon. So having such a collective conscience being risen at this point makes me feel happy and strong and hopeful. I'm tired.
Perla Jo has been protesting since day one. For her, this is personal.
Feel the worry in my family. This is part of the why. I remember the year I stopped between my school and university because I couldn't, because it's so expensive. This is part of the why. I remember electricity being off and me not being capable of turning on the heater when I was in my family's house. This is part of the why.
Perla blames career politicians for Lebanon's problems. Some have dominated governments for decades.
Some of them has been there ever since I was born, 92, 27 years, speaking with the name of the people while generations are rising within different thinking, within different consciousness, within different education. And we're still in the same system that has proved itself to fail.
Let's dive into that system and how it works, or at least is supposed to. Lebanon's political system is all about religion. There are 18 officially recognized religious sects. Laws require that most of them share power in government. Parliament seats are divided among most of these sects, with each given a specific number. Citizens can only vote for candidates from the specific sects running in their districts. This quota-based system has deep roots in Lebanon's history. It was enshrined following independence in 1943 and reinforced following the country's bloody civil war. The original goal of the system was that of inclusion.
The idea was that there are so many sects in Lebanon in very different numbers that everybody gets a voice, so that way nobody's marginalized. This means that there's almost like an engineering of who's represented.
This structure has made it difficult for anyone outside the mainstream parties to participate in politics. To understand just how difficult that is, I meet Lauri Haitayan. In 2018, she and others tried running for parliament on a secular platform, with no connection to established sectarian parties.
It was important for us to speak in the name of the people, all the citizens, regardless of their sect or their community. Yes, we were running through a very sectarian law, but the spirit that we had was not sectarian.
This sectarian system needs to be dismantled. You cannot go into parliament anymore with this quota system. It doesn't work anymore.
But being born Armenian Orthodox, Lori was forced to compete with others of that sect in her district in Beirut. It's a Christian stronghold still living with scars from Lebanon's 15-year-long civil war.
So there are many difficulties. One of them is like the first thing is like they still have this obsession with protection. Who is going to protect us against the invader? That invader is this a fellow citizen from the other community, or the fellow citizen from the other neighborhood, which is like a different sect neighborhood.
Lori did not win a seat in parliament. Her experience raises questions about whether sectarianism in Lebanon accomplishes its aims. Some fear a system that was aimed at inclusion is actually dividing people.
You can definitely tell that this system has created some sort of confusion about what it really means to be Lebanese, what that identity looks like. It's, where does allegiance come to first? Is it your own sect, is it your own community in particular, or is it the greater Lebanese state, or the state as a whole?
So how is this all related to the protest movement?
Sectarianism, of course, impacts everyday life, especially the functioning of a state, because it gets in the way of things. In many cases, for example, we see the mainstream political parties of Lebanon, in the absence of a functioning civic state that provides healthcare and education and so on, they become the go-to for support. They become an alternative social security.
That's something that many protesters, including Perla, whom we met earlier, say they have dealt with.
My mother was sick. I couldn't get her into a hospital without a certain vote because they own a hospital. Like, we have no insurance. The government doesn't provide you with what you need.
They get this support in exchange for votes. So it's almost a transaction.
So what's wrong with politicians taking care of their constituents? Critics say this kind of patronage creates an unsustainable situation for the country. And it's seen as a key reason why hundreds of thousands have taken to the streets demanding a change of system.
Today, a lot of people use the phrase "وحدونا بالجوع," they united us with hunger, united us with poverty even. They realize that it's those at the top who are making the decisions have led us to this crisis.
So let's ask someone at the top. What do they think about what is going on in the country? To understand, I sit down with Alaoun. He's a leading member of the largest group in parliament, the Free Patriotic Movement, and nephew of Lebanese President Michel Aoun.
When they generalize the accusation, they are doing wrong. They don't have the right to say everyone is bad.
So when they say كلٌ يعني كلٌ, you don't agree with it?
Of course I don't agree. Why? There are honest people who do politics. We are not all corrupted. Just saying we don't talk to anyone, we don't engage in dialogue with the government or with any political parties, etc., and then we want to kick them all out. This is not realistic. Unless you can do a coup d'etat, well, do it. If you can't, no. We have to live with it.
Do you think that Lebanon still needs sectarian politics?
It needs, of course, these are diversified societies, and you need a minimum of safeguards to ensure everyone that they are being able to get their rights. You cannot move from a sectarian government and system to a secular one from a day to another. It's a process. I support the process. Maybe there are people who are already more mature on this level than others in the society, but you still have lots of sectarian groups and sectarian people. And then you have to move them forward in their way of thinking, in their education, and
So you're saying the Lebanese people are not educated enough to make a choice for a secular state?
I didn't say that. I said you have to include this secular dimension in their education also.
This protest movement has included a lot of young people who perhaps are less able to understand these arguments that you do need the system.
I tell them they are leading this change. They are ahead of us. I agree. They are ahead of us in this run and in this past to change Lebanon's minds and to move it to a secular system, these people are leading, not us.
While it is hard to tell when this change might translate into politics, many young people I have spoken to say a lot has already been gained. At the end of my time in Lebanon, I sit down with 5 young activists from different political movements to get their take.
First gain was people actually revolting, and from the second day, October 18, they were tearing apart the pictures of the leaders, and they were trying to communicate with people from other communities, from other regions, in order to collaborate or to coordinate for protests at the same time. So it kind of broke down that wall of fear from the other.
Other than breaking the fear barrier, other than breaking sectarianism barriers, people are speaking out about everything related to corruption. Scandals are just flowing right now, and journalists are feeling empowered to be taking part of this.
The most fascinating gain from me is that the street itself became the most powerful political actor, yes. Right? Like this amazing manifestation of democracy in the big sense.
Succeeded in pressuring the system and showing the weakness of the leaders, the sectarian leaders, especially that most of Lebanese people thought that these leaders were strong and unbeatable, and they were here forever and they will stay forever. No, it showed that the traditional governance mechanisms that they were using they were crumbling from within, and hence it presents a huge opportunity now to break away from the system. This is also a gain.
It's not a revolution yet, because you need to see the results. Today, there was something that changed, yes, but have we seen actual and concrete results yet? No. I don't think that we have seen something that goes on the long term, because the political class is still the same. The same deputies and same political leaders are still naming the ministers who are going to be participating in the government. They are still looking for their share of the cake.
I think it's an uprising, it's not a revolution, because I don't see revolutions as something that happens within a very specific time frame, or that's something that is a very instant phenomenon. I see revolution as a continuous process that takes a long time.
It's not about what we call it, but most of the people are calling it a revolution. They enjoy using the term revolution. Let's stick to it. If it's more emotional to people, if using the word revolution is keeping the momentum, let's call it a revolution. If uprising is keeping the momentum, let's stick to uprising.